Good afternoon. It is 1:05 p.m. on Saturday, May 16th, and I would like to officially call the 2020 UWG Alumni Association Annual Meeting to order. My name is Melanie Hildebrandt, and I am the chair of the Alumni Association. Thank you all so very much for joining us today in this virtual meeting. The first item of business on our agenda today are university updates. We will hear next from our new president, Dr. Brendan Kelly.
So it is critical for us to go and attract the most talented people that we possibly can to the university at every level. And I started that process by, one, appointing Dr. Meredith Brunin, and I'm going to tell you she is an incredible advancement professional. As she said, we have worked together for a number of years. We need to get better all the time as a university. That's what we do. And bringing in the right leadership is what allows us to do that. And I believe Dr. Brunin is ideal to lead university advancement for us. Additionally, I appointed Dr. Andre Fortune, who's an incredible student affairs and enrollment management leader, as our new vice president for those areas. We've worked with Andre before as well, and Dr. Fortune brings a wealth of experience, a rich background in building rich experiences in Greek life, which I know is a critical piece of UWG's culture. Connecting the student experience with athletics in all of the right ways, and making certain that we curate a rich student experience that anticipates the needs and expectations of those that we're in service to, instead of just waiting to tell us what we didn't do as well as we could have. We also launched a search for a new provost and vice president of academic affairs. Dr. David Jenks, who's fantastic, is serving in that interim role right now. It is important for us to go and search the world to get the best talent that we can. So we've engaged Myers McRae, an executive search firm, to go and help us on that front. And finally, we started a new search for a new chief business officer, vice president of business and finance, as we need a curator of resources to be on our team as well. I know there are probably two questions that all of you are thinking about. One, when do we reopen? And let me clarify that by saying this: we have been developing reopening plans at two stages with teams across the university for the last few weeks. We have just completed the kind of primary draft and submitted it to the state, because we do have to go through the governor's office and Georgia Public Health to make certain that we're putting the right protocols in place and have the right comprehensive plan to keep employees safe. That's a staggered reopening plan to start bringing those who are working remotely back to campus over the course of the summer in a few phases. We have not implemented that or announced any dates, but we have kind of gotten to the final stages of that planning. And the second is a reopening plan for fall, to make certain that whatever normal is, let's call it normal-esque, that we make it the best it can possibly be at the University of West Georgia. And we are actively planning, both with our health officials at the university and a wide variety of other officials around the state, to put best practices in place, to make certain that when people do return to campus, they return to something that makes them feel connected to their experience in the same way so many of you have. Otherwise, you wouldn't be sitting on this call taking pride in your university. Many of you have probably heard as well about the fact that the governor has asked us to cut, to model a 14% cut in our base budget. 14% might not have context for you, but if I can compare it, for those of you who lived through the financial crisis of 2008, 14% makes that crisis look small. That is a very, very serious structural question about any organization, and all state agencies have the same call, and that's 14%. And we're still working on planning our way through what that would be, and we still have to wait for the actual revenue reports to come back to the state and the legislature to pass a fiscal 21 budget. But I will tell you what I said to everybody a few hours after I was directed to model that 14% cut. I sent a communication to everyone on campus, and I wanted to make sure we decrease people's anxiousness as much as possible. But we laid out three principles that would guide us through that process. Every decision we make right now, and I can't emphasize it enough, is going to help define what we are next. So whether we're handed a 14% increase in resources or a 14% decrease, we have to make the right strategic choices. And the principles that I laid out were simple. One, we have to prioritize instruction and the student experience. Those two things can't be compromised as we start to look at decreasing resources. That's our focus. That's what the university is. It is that teaching and learning magic that comes between teacher and student, and it's the experience of being a student at a major public university that makes it rich. Second, we were going to focus on what we were creating rather than what we were eliminating. We weren't going to sit and worry about what we would be without as much as what decisions are we making to invest in things that are going to be important to the university moving forward. If we had to get down to essential things, what would those be? And finally, I made certain that everybody knew that every employee at the University of West Georgia is not an owner. We don't own any part of the university. We are stewards. We are the ones who take important treasured resources and try to make certain that they are treated that way, that we make them better all of the time, that when we leave our jobs, and every single one of us will, that the next person who comes in looks at it and goes, that is a great opportunity. I'm so glad I'm here, instead of what a mess. What kind of mess did this person make, and what do I have to do to clean it up? We want to make certain that that stewardship is what guides us, and we're working through the deep complexities of that plan. Last thing I'd say, and I'll take any questions you may have, last Saturday, about the same time, we got to celebrate one of the great events that any university celebrates. And while we had to do it virtually, we sat in the Coliseum with a small number of people, all properly distanced from each other, and announced the names and celebrated the achievements of the 1,415 graduates of the class of 2020. And I will tell you, there's no more fun and gratifying experience than to watch people earn a degree. I'm sad that I didn't get to shake everybody's hand, but I'm overjoyed that we got to celebrate everyone. With that, I will end my remarks and take any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kelly and Dr. Brennan, for those university updates and some really encouraging words, despite the times that we're in right now. I do see one question already in our chat box. So for Dr. Kelly, how does West Georgia compare to UC Upstate?
Oh, that's a great question. So I had an interesting career in South Carolina, where I served as chancellor of USC Upstate for 3 years, and I was named president or interim president of the University of South Carolina in Columbia, and the interim president of the USC system. USC Upstate is an interesting comparator. It primarily undergraduate education. So UWG is about just under 14,000 students. USC Upstate has just under 7,000 students. It is in a metropolitan area, so Carrollton is a destination to come to college, especially with the connection between Edison Square and what I consider to be a destination campus, because all of the attributes that come along with UWG's campus are incredible. USC Upstate also had a beautiful campus, but it was right off I-85. So if you take I-85 to exit 72 in South Carolina, you are 1 mile from USC Upstate. So that puts you 9 miles from the headquarters of BMW in North America. It puts you in a manufacturing hub and one of the most populous places in the state of South Carolina. The way in which they differ is in terms of opportunity from my perspective. UWG is a richer institution in that last Saturday we awarded doctoral degrees and a large collection of master's degrees, specialist degrees, and a slew of undergraduate degrees across 87 programs. USC Upstate didn't have that breadth and depth at all of those levels. The one thing that it has in common, at least in my experience so far, is that when I spent time with the students at at USC Upstate, they were there to fall in love with their college experience. They were there to get opportunity that would fuel the rest of their life. And I haven't met one UWG student who didn't feel the same way about what they expect from us. I hope that question or that answer suffices for you.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. Let's see, we've got another question in the chat. Well, okay, perhaps we can get an answer to this one. We have a question that says, what is the plan to restaff the Center for Student Involvement? Although we might not have the appropriate vice president on call for that one.
Well, that's all right. All the vice presidents work for me, so I don't mind answering that question at all. Center for Student Involvement is a critical linchpin for the student experience. I am well aware of the challenges that have come along in that area. I've been tutored by many students and many of our very recent alumni. And part of the reason why I brought Dr. Fortune in is because we needed a person on the team that made it so that the Center for Student Involvement wasn't some silo that connected to students' experience, but that all of the leadership, and I don't just mean president, vice presidents, I mean anybody who is going to play any leadership role at the university understands how all of those dots are connected. So we are, despite our resource challenges, prioritizing the Center for Student Involvement and other areas like that to make certain that we are enriching the student experience rather than diminishing it at all. Dr. Fortune, that is his area of expertise. So he's really connecting together the staffing areas that play the largest roles in students' lives and making certain that we formulate that as a team so that we can get a very holistic approach to ensuring that students have a fantastic UWG experience.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, the questions just keep rolling in, so here we go. What can we learn from how you stayed connected with alumni in your prior roles? And also, how do you stay connected with your own institutions that you graduated from?
That's a great question. One of my favorite experiences about serving in a presidency is being able to connect with alumni. Okay, I work for you. Your identity is rooted in this institution. And when I wake up, and I have the same expectation for every other leader, we wake up, we go to work to steward that. We're supposed to be building greater value in the credentials that you earned, in your connection to the university. And we have to do the same thing for every single student who is currently studying with us and all those who will. So I tend to spend a lot of time connecting with alumni. I have a lot of rich relationships with a lot of alums from other institutions that I've had the privilege of being part of. You know, you tend to make a university community whole because, you know, if you travel other places in the world, people who graduate from universities, they don't reconnect in the same way. Alumni relations doesn't exist in many other nations. And I've had the privilege of being at universities in all areas of the world. And it's amazing how in the United States that becomes part of who we are. You know, part of the reason why I bring a leader like Dr. Brunin in is so that we can get the most sophisticated, connected, and advancement operation possible so that we can make sure alumni stay involved. And I will be personally involved in that all of the time, in part because it is my responsibility, but it also brings me great joy. I rely on many of you as I get to know you as thought partners. You know things about the university that I can never know without you. And at every institution I've been a part of, that's been the case. And in terms of my own alma maters, I'm still very involved at Eastern Michigan University, which was my undergraduate my undergraduate alma mater, as well as my master's degree. I had the privilege of teaching there for 4 years as well. I'm still a donor to both Wayne State and to Eastern Michigan, and I love it. And you know, the current director of forensics, and I came out of the speech and debate program, as did the other Dr. Kelly, who many of you will have the chance to meet. That's where we met in college. We run one of the best speech and debate teams in the country. I'm still connected to director of forensics because he was an undergraduate student when I was the national tournament director. So being part of that network and that community that's what makes life meaningful, in my view. And alumni communities are some of the richest parts of that.
Thank you. As part of our alumni board, that's really encouraging to hear. Are there any particular initiatives or programs that you plan to bring to West Georgia based on your own experience, just programs that you found to be highly effective for your institutions before?
Yes, and I'm going to kind of twist to the second part of that. I steal from universities all the time. And I don't mean that in the criminal sense. I mean that when somebody else does something really well, when they have a brilliant idea, then we just go and take it. I will tell you one of the things that I've set out for all of our leadership, and I stole this from Ohio State. People who work at the university were asking the same question. I said, look, at the philosophy that's going to drive everything that we do is we do what's right for the student first, and then we make it work for the University of West Georgia, right? Well, that is a philosophy that we didn't invent. That's just a philosophy that we're going to borrow from those who got it right. Academic programs that make sense. For instance, at USC Upstate, we started launching, when we launched academic programs, we connected with industry to make certain that we were doing the right things for them and producing talent in the ways that they needed it, because that's the opportunity that students are looking for. When they graduate, they want employers clamoring for their talents and their services, rather than them having to go out and compete with everybody else. We have to make it as easy as possible. And having that discussion with industry first matters. We go out and meet with superintendents and say, can we make our teachers better? Can we change the way in which we train? We do the same thing with hospitals in terms of nurses. When we were at USC Upstate, we started a program in advanced manufacturing management. Instead of delivering it in a traditional classroom, we delivered it on the campus of BMW at their North American headquarters, because the people who were targeted for that program worked in management, in manufacturing at Michelin and at Milliken, Drexel-Meyer, and BMW, and that was the best place for them. We went and designed the university around their needs rather than designing it around our convenience. I also would suggest that there's a number of things that I saw that UWG has the capacity to do that other universities don't. We have some really special assets in terms of our location. Our location in the Atlanta metropolitan area, one of the fastest growing areas in the United States, and Atlanta is the center for commerce in the South. Types of opportunities we can connect students with because of our proximity are absolutely critical. And we're going to put some programs in place that some concepts that have worked at other places that, quite frankly, I think already should be in place here to try to make it as easy for students as possible to connect to those opportunities. I also see some academic program opportunities that other universities have done well, but didn't have the assets to be great at that I think we do. Now, we are still coloring in all of those plans. I'm not sharing with you details because it's not appropriate for me to share my ideas about where we should go without first having those conversations with my colleagues, because they're the ones who are going to have to create them with me. And some of those colleagues are on this line. So know that we always keep building on our experience, and we're going to do a lot of that over the coming years here.
We also have a question about what level of importance do you personally place on athletics as a part of the university community?
It's a great question. You can probably look to some of my history to answer some of that question. Obviously, I took the USC Upstate into a new conference about 6 months after I got there, and we started to build a different athletic profile. I was one of the architects for football at the University of West Florida, and saw them through their first season before I departed that institution. And I think we did a pretty good job on that front. Look, at athletics is one of the easiest ways to invite everybody to be part of a university. It's like the front porch of an institution. I mean, we say that, but let me explain it this way. if you want to get involved at a university, you have to go and you have to register and get accepted. You have to, meet with advisors. You have to pay your bill. You don't get to be part of the university at all unless you go through all of these steps. But with athletics, all you have to do is buy a ticket, show up, be part of that energy, decide that that's your team, decide that those players are representing a little bit of you, and all of a sudden you're part of the university community. And for me, that's important. My wife and I attend a lot of athletic events. We attend a lot of theater and all kinds of other things too, because I love watching students work. But athletics is ambassadorship at its highest level. Those students go up, they come to the university to represent us, and then they leave it all, both in the classroom and on the field. And for us, that has to be a priority, if for nothing else, to honor that commitment and performance. And quite frankly, I like to win, and I think University of West Georgia should too. We're talking to the NCAA right now, working through that with the conference. We are working on bringing student athletes back to campus. That's the plan right now, and we think we can do those in safe ways, with a lot of monitoring and contact tracing and those types of things. And we have the capacity to do that at the university. So we're hoping that we'll all be getting together for homecoming in as normal a way as we would have otherwise.
Your views with Greek life in terms of being involved with the campus community?
So I've had a lot of conversation with a lot of Greek leaders over the last couple of months, so I could get an understanding. They had a lot of concerns about Greek life, and they've been sharing that with me. Part of the reason why I brought Andre Fortune on as Vice President of Student Affairs and Roman Management is he is a lifelong member of his own fraternity, and one of his strengths is creating rich, incredible Greek life at universities. We have a Greek village. We have all of the things that are needed to have great Greek life, healthy Greek life. We just have to get the right leadership that prioritizes those students' needs and expectations over other things. I have absolutely no reservations about saying that I think we are going to land on an example-setting Greek life in relatively short course at UWG.
Going forward, how can we as alumni best help our current students that are affected by this pandemic?
I would suggest three things. One, do not stop being prideful in a very intentional and unapologetic fashion. I came to Carrollton, and my realtor referred to the University of West Georgia as the college. And I know that is the way that people have referred to it. And I said, Madam, that is not the case. And if you want me to buy a house with you, you need to refer to it in the right terms. We are a university. We are the 7th largest public university in the 8th largest state in the United States. And we should be prideful about that. That matters in the world. Please continue to be prideful. 2, make certain that when you talk about the University of West Georgia, talk about it in positive terms. That affects the way people see students coming out of this university now. Whether it's on social media, and I know Kim Holder's on this call. She is a champion ambassador for the university, and the way she interacts on those platforms. That matters because it builds their identity, it builds their opportunity for reputation. And finally, be willing to engage in the frameworks that we are going to try to develop with alumni to create professional networks for students. We can be a powerful university if we can take the greatest resource that students have at their fingertips, and that's you. You all work in lots of different industries, lots of different places, and you care enough to be on this call. You care enough about your university to be connected. Let's care enough to figure out creative ways to connect current students with professional networks that change what an opportunity for an education at the University of West Georgia look like. It'll be different work than we've done in the past, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be willing to change and evolve, because the world is demanding it of us, and we owe it to the students who've chosen to become part of this university.
Okay, let's wrap
And
up.
that's
This will be our final question for Dr. Kelly. And we're going to end with, what would you like your legacy to be as president of the University of West Georgia?
I think it's a great question. Legacy is defined by you, not by me. It's defined by the people to which I am in service. I don't get to choose that. My hope is that when this opportunity ends, and know that anytime you walk into a presidency, it's really important that, as one of my colleagues who wrote a book on university presidency said, you need to know when the party's over before they do. And, I hope that you're going to look back on the time that we've worked together as a turning point in the university, a place where we took the opportunity to pivot the University of West Georgia toward what we need to be 20 years from now and 25 years from now. The day we decided to be the best at getting better all the time, and that we were willing to change and evolve to become something that the world needs us to be moving forward. And I say that because I didn't say, well, we're going to win national championships or enrollments at a particular level, because it's not about that. Universities play a huge role in who people are and the types of lives that they have. We want to be one of those universities that people clamor to be part of because the opportunity is rich. And the one thing that I think UWG can hang its hat on is we can offer an education of the head and the hands. I saw in the chat somebody mentioned undergraduate research. That's ontology. That's teaching people how to do things. One of the things that I know out of UWG grads, because I've already heard it, many of them go to graduate school, and the types of things that they were able to do as an undergraduate, other universities wait until you're a graduate student to be able to take on that type of challenging work. We have to teach people a way of knowing and a way of doing. And that's what makes a university education incredibly relevant in the 21st century. I hope that we become the most relevant university that we can possibly be for the state of Georgia and the South Atlantic region.
Thank you so very much. So let's again do a virtual round of applause for Dr. Brennan and Dr. Kelly joining us today, especially for President Kelly, entertaining our endless questions. But it's so nice, and I hope all of our alumni are very encouraged by the messages that we've received today. I know that personally I was. So again, thank you to you both very much.
We really appreciate all of your questions, and we'll be sending out some more information about a possible time to maybe meet up again to continue answering some of these questions, whether it be in this type of forum or we allow you to send in questions and have Dr. Kelly answer those and we send out a recording. But keep those questions coming. You can send them to alumni@westga.edu. Or pose those to our social media. You can send us a message, but we would love to continue to answer those questions for you, and we just really appreciate your engagement. So we would like to honor the service of our Alumni Board of Directors members whose terms are expiring in July. So please join me, flood that chat box for a virtual round of applause for Mrs. Nancy Frank. She's a 1967 graduate. She has served most recently 2 consecutive terms on the Alumni Board of Directors. So thank you, Miss Nancy Frank. Next, we have Mrs. Laura Garland. She has also served 2 consecutive terms. Thank you, Miss Laura. And next, Mr. Donnie Newsom. He has served 2 consecutive terms and also has previous service as a past president. So thank you so much. I have thoroughly enjoyed getting to know each of you in my time in the interim role and through annual giving efforts. And so we are just so appreciative of your service. The work of the Alumni Association has a rich legacy dating back to 1934. Today, we would like to acknowledge the work of our past Alumni Board of Directors, Presidents, and Chairs. Thank you for your commitment to UWG. We greatly appreciate your service.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to the voting portion of our meeting. We're going to be entertaining some new board members to bring in to the board, and then we also need to vote on 2 new officers from our existing slate of board members for our executive committee. The Board Development Committee accepts applications from any alumni who's interested in serving. And the following individuals are among those that have applied, and upon review, they've been recommended by that committee to the members of the association for service on the board. And so you can see the listing here. Okay, well, with the ballots approved, let's congratulate our new board members. Next, we need to vote on our executive committee. And so you can see here the current slate of the executive committee. For the voting, we have Chris Sanders nominated for the position of secretary and Philip Cochran nominated for the position of treasurer. Excellent. Thank you so much. Congratulations to all of our new board members and our new officers for the Alumni Board of Directors. Again, we appreciate all of the time and energy you guys give to our institution. At this time, I just want to, again, thank you all for joining us. Again, please follow us on social media. That's our main way of communicating, so you can get plenty of updates when those events turn from virtual, hopefully, to seeing each other in person again. And we would also appreciate any feedback. So if you've got feedback about this meeting, you can send that to us. And I think we've got a slide coming up that has the link maybe. So there we go. So alumni.wesca.edu/survey, or you can just scan the QR code there. Again, thanks to you all. Thanks to Dr. Kelly and Dr. Brunin, all the board members that were here today. Welcome again to all the new board members. And I hope that we're able to see you all here on campus as soon as we're safely able. Go West, go Wolves.